All right, gang. After evening, welcome to another episode of the Welch Review.
Yeah, so today it's going to be take 3, trying to review the movie Kick-Ass. So Kick-Ass, it's like a superhero film if instead of having superpowers you're just a normal dude and you kind of sucked at your job. But who's in Kick-Ass?
So in Kick-Ass you have Aaron Taylor Johnson as Dave Lazowski, whatever. He plays the title role of Kick-Ass, right? And his alter ego Dave. You have Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy. You have Chloe Grace Moretz as Hit Girl. You have Evan Peters as Todd, Lindsay Fonseca as Katie, Christopher Mintz-Plasse as Chris D'Amico, also known as Red Mist, Mark Strong as Frank D'Amico, Michael Rispoli as Big Joe, and Clark Duke as Marty. And it's based on the Mark Millar comic of the same name, and it's directed and written by Matthew Vaughn, who also directed the Kingsman films, which were based on a Mark Millar property, and Matthew Vaughn also directed X-Men First Class. So he's very in tune with Mark Millar's visions, as well as the superhero genre as a whole.
Yeah.
So, just like Sam was saying, it's like a superhero. It is a superhero film, in kind of like a do-it-yourself hero. Right, like why hasn't anyone tried to do this before, kind of thing. Like if Peter Parker never got superpowers, this is that story.
Yeah, so kind of just like a super quick breakdown of the storyline. Basically, you got a nerdy kid in school. Nobody really likes or knows him except for like his
boys, Todd and Marty.
His group of nerdy friends. They go to comic stores. They get beaten up. They get their money taken. Then Dave is like, hey, why has nobody been a superhero? And they're like, because that you just die. So he's like, whatever, I'm going to do it. Then he tries to be a superhero, gets beaten up, stabbed, and then hit by a car. Most of the nerve endings in his body get destroyed. He has metal bars and plates put in his body. So now his superpower comes into being, which is that he doesn't really take damage from things because he can't feel pain as well as normal people. So, then he starts trying to be a superhero again, except now with a slight superpower. Also, the girl he likes thinks that he's gay and decides to become friends with him for that purpose and that purpose alone.
Yes. So he got her radar.
Yeah.
At least, which is a step up. Anyhow, keep rolling.
Alright, sorry, I'm trying to blitz through this. This is the third time we've done this, so I wanna get the storyline
yeah, man.
at least kind of covered.
You're spitting bars.
So, then, he's doing a superhero thing, trying to find a cat. Cat, little asshole, runs away.
And it's up on a billboard.
Yeah.
A billboard platform. How's a cat even get up there?
Ain't no trees in New York, you gotta get on billboard platforms. So, then, while he's doing that, sees this dude running away from a group of dudes, goes over, decides to help the dude who's getting his butt kicked, and then successfully defends this guy for maybe 4 minutes. But during those 4 minutes, some kids record it, and he becomes probably less. Yeah, less. Okay, less.
A little less. He wasn't that good.
So people record him getting his butt kicked and protecting this dude, fighting back. And that's how the legend of Kick-Ass, hits the big screen. Now everybody's talking about Kick-Ass, defending this guy. So turns out those guys that he was fighting off were mob boss grunts for the D'Amico crime family.
Yep.
So on the side, there have been some issues for the D'Amico family, and there's other mass vigilantes who we haven't talked to or about yet, who have been shaking down the D'Amico crime family. So the D'Amicos think that this Kick-Ass guy must be the vigilante, because how many Batman dudes are there running around just fighting people?
Which though, in all fairness though, it's New York. There are tons of crazy showbiz, just very insane people. So I feel like that could almost be anybody.
I mean, even just on Times Square, there must be 50 people.
Yeah, how many people are dressed up as Spider-Man or SpongeBob or Batman?
Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, there's everyone's in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So anyway,
just everybody in Manhattan is friggin' dressed up as superheroes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And they all take photo selfies for like $5, so it's kind of relatively cheap. But anyhow, so these superheroes are shaking down the D'Amico crime family, and then Frank D'Amico, the head, the captain, Mo Capitan, the boss, is like, Kick-Ass is the dude who's stealing my coke. Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so that happens. Turns out not Kick-Ass, it's this other dude named Big Daddy, and Hit Girl, who, as we said before, is played by the guy who's always
the mighty and great Nicolas Cage, and the very talented Chloe Grace Moretz. And it turns out that Nicolas Cage's character, right, was a cop who was sent away to prison because Frank D'Amico set him up. Right, so now he's out of prison, he's got custody of his daughter, and instead of giving her a childhood, he has robbed her. And see what I did there?
Yeah,
robbed her.
He
turns
turns her into like a assassin.
Yeah, he turns her into like an assassin to help him take down the crime syndicate that essentially stole his family, and as he stole her childhood. Right, that's what this cause has become. So. Frank D'Amico believes Kick-Ass is the one who is successfully shaking them down, when in reality it's Hit Girl and Big Daddy. So Hit Girl and Big Daddy get word of, Kick-Ass and his activities, and they're like, I don't know, man, like, he shouldn't be drawing that much attention to himself. But then one thing leads to another, and their paths intersect, right? And then they talk like, hey, if you want to team up, here's the protocol for doing so. So then, like, Frank D'Amico sees a dude in a kick-ass costume and fucking just pulls over and plugs him right there in the street. And it turns out, like, oh, it's just like a rent-a-clown, right? Like, it's not the real guy. So then his son's like, hey, look, you don't want me to be in the business. You're not letting me try. Here's my idea. I'll go undercover as a superhero and bring Kick-Ass to you. Right? So in the process of him pretending to be a superhero, he also hides a like nanny cam in this teddy bear in the lumber yard where he's supposed to serve up Kick-Ass. And when they get there, it turns out, oh, it's not Kick-Ass, it's Hit Girl and Big Daddy. So they ultimately just like forget about Kick-Ass and go after Nicolas Cage and Chloe Grace Moretz.
So, yeah, ultimately they do capture them, and some bad crap happens. So, then the rest of the movie is about, the heroes trying to take down Frank D'Amico now as a unit, without Red Mist, of course, because, they find out that he's also a bad dude. But
you're talking really fast.
That's the point. I'm trying to get through the storyline.
Maybe I feel like it's
no. That's not the point of the video. We're reviewing it, not giving a synopsis, man.
But that is a synopsis.
Yeah, but only so that we can explain the high points and low points.
I see.
Duh. All right. So now that we have the storyline set aside, what do you think about our like set of characters? Who really stands out? Who shines for you?
I mean, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is the most over-the-top, bananas, crazy actor, I think, in the game today, and I think Big Daddy is the perfect role of, like, an unhinged man who is, like, the laws don't matter, they didn't serve me well and I was innocent, so now I'm going to take it into my own hands. So I feel like him in a superhero movie, especially one that's rated R, like, lets him, pun intended, out of the cage of like, hey, here's where we want you, right? And then if it's R-rated, it's just like, go full Nicholas.
Yeah.
Like that whole scene where they're captured and he's on fire. Switch to Robin's Revenge Child! And it's like, alright, Nicolas Cage, I feel you.
Yeah, so Nick Cage's character is kind of just shitty Batman with guns.
Yeah.
And even his costume looks like crappy Batman with guns. And as Stephen just said previously, Hit Girl is kind of like Robin, right? Except more stabby and murdery and less like, I hit you with my hands and now you might be asleep for a little bit. Nick Cage, very interesting and sometimes over the top. I do think that they stopped him from going full crazy.
Full Nick
At
Cage.
least while he wasn't wearing the costume. That being said, there were scenes where he shoots his daughter with a gun, just so that she knows what being shot while wearing an armored vest is like. So that seems pretty Nicolas Cage to me.
It does, yeah.
I'm sure he's done that to his actual children.
They turn 10 years old. Okay, you're going to be a man now. You need to take a bullet. I mean, his uncle did direct The Godfather.
Yep.
So it's highly possible.
Yeah, but his uncle's cool.
Francis Ford Coppola?
I don't know, probably.
He's okay.
Yeah. Well, he made The Godfather. That makes you cool by default.
That's true.
Yeah, so Nick Cage, definitely a shining character. Our main character, Dave, he's an interesting lad.
Yeah.
He's not really very engaging. I think most of the time he's more like a vessel to bring you through the plot, rather than somebody who your attention is always on. Like, you definitely want him to succeed because, you know, he gets the girl and he does the superhero thing, but he's not really good at being a superhero.
No.
You know, the actual action, you know, is done by other characters that are just around him. The actual plot is almost never pushed forward by him, except in the beginning where they're establishing his own background.
You could argue, based off that Dave is simply, you know, there to introduce you to Hit Girl.
To Hit Girl and Big Daddy, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
but even Kick-Ass, it's just a theory, right? But he's supposed to be Kick-Ass, but to Kick-Ass, it's literally because into the sequel, which is something we could talk about another day, but Dave introduces to Hit Girl, and it's just all about how she kicks ass.
Yeah.
That, because like Sam said, all the action scenes, really another standout. Chloe Grace Moretz does fantastic as Hit Girl.
Yeah, she does.
If they gave us a Hit Girl movie, that'd be dope. You know, just she totally owns it. You know, she reminds me of a darker Robin.
Yeah,
you know?
and she's still kind of childish. She doesn't really understand what she's doing is wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's kind of like that's how she was brought up, so she's devoid of guilt. She's just like, oh, okay, I stabbed the guy, he's probably dead. Cool.
Yeah.
You know, he was a bad person, so he deserved to be stabbed.
So her acting, her one-liners, just hearing her drop the amount of vulgar terms that she said.
Yeah, she's kind of
kind of crazy. When she said some pretty hard C terms, and I was like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
The whole scene where she saves Dave from getting chopped up in in the crack house.
Yeah.
In the ghetto. In the drug dealer den, that area.
Yeah.
That was tight. I also think the music, whenever she's in the scene,
it's way more high paced.
It's way high paced, but it fits. They match songs really well. I don't give a damn about my reputation to the final showdown. That was good.
Yep.
You know, I also think Mark Strong as a mob boss is real good. I can't tell. He's been so many villains.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Sure, a great person.
Sinestro in Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Dr. Thaddeus, I forget the last name in Shazam. Sherlock Holmes, he was the bad guy, Lord Blackwood or Blackmore, I forget which one. But either way, in comic books and literature, he is just the villain.
Yeah, he's the bad guy in Robin Hood also.
He is, yeah. And he's so good at it.
Yeah. One other thing that I want to mention before we move on is how even in Dave's own friend group, he's not the center of attention. He gets the girl, right? But the center of attention is that kid from The Office.
Oh, Clark Duke.
Clark Duke is the center of attention for his friend group. He's the one who, you know, makes witty comments. He's the one who's obviously the leader of the group.
Yeah.
You know, so Dave is, in almost every single scenario that he's put in, he is the side character. But we follow him. And I think, as you saw from all of the stuff that we had to rush through to tell you the plot, or at least the basic plot, it's a very complex plot. So if they took a long time just to make Dave a badass all the time, they would never, at least in my opinion, be able to successfully make such a complex and dynamic storyline. Because it would just be, it would just turn into your standard superhero film where the good guy is out kicking butt the whole time, and there's no strife.
But it's
But in this, you can't fight that.
It's cool how you brought that up, though. Like the idea, like okay, he kind of shows up, and that's how we find everything out.
Yeah.
You know, like you are literally just the vessel for the audience to see everything else.
It's also a very clever tool for directing that I think should probably be implemented more, because what it does is it cuts out exposition. Like, there is still exposition in the story because it's so complex, like the background for Nick Cage.
Yeah.
There's exposition for that. But because they just use the main character as a vessel to experience things, they don't have to just, like, take 5 minutes out of the movie to explain things. They just show you while he's experiencing them.
Which I think, as audience members, it's it's a nicer way of having things.
Yeah, I
like
prefer it that way.
like shown to you instead of like
shouted at,
or like just thrown at you. Like this is the way it is. Like no, it's a nice creative touch.
Yeah.
I also really liked Big Joe in the movie. I'm starting to jump back
Who's
to
Big Joe?
Big Joe is the guy who was like they put him in the microwave and they're like, all right, how the fuck do you work this? It's like, who sold you the Coke? And then the guy blew up.
Yeah,
like,
that's Big Joe.
Big Joe is good.
Oh, poor Big Joe.
I can't believe you believe this shit.
From a Russian.
You said in Mask and a Cape, Batman. I didn't say Batman. Like just his aloofness as like a second in command is pretty good.
Yeah. No, he is a good character. So aside from characters and story direction, or plot and how it's introduced, is there anything that kind of catches your attention in the movie?
I think like the whole idea of like, obviously there's humor in it and there's action and there's other things, but I think the idea of wanting to belong to something greater than you.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a really good theme that they have running in this film, and I think it's not necessarily an original idea, right? Because everyone at some point in time has thought, I could be a superhero.
Yeah.
But like it's very cool to see that put in place. You know what I mean? Like some other person could make this movie and it would be different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like this one slice of that idea, is well done. Overall, I'd say Kick-Ass is a very, very good comic book adaptation. It's a very good comedy. It's a very good action film.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than some of the stuff DC and Marvel have turned out.
Yeah. I think the only thing about it is it's not the most serious film, which isn't necessarily a fault, because I think the movie intentionally doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, overall a solid film. It does a great job portraying its own plot. It has good character development in our main character as he goes from kind of like a pansy to somebody who, even though he's afraid, decides like, hey, I need to stand up to whatever comes at me, even if it's way over my head.
Yeah.
He goes from like small time to big time in this movie. You couldn't see, but I put my hand over here.
Small time
to big time.
But like, if you're a comic book fan, definitely pick this up. It's a great one. I wish Matthew Vaughn stuck around for part 2, but that's a conversation for another day.
Check out Kick-Ass. We do recommend. And thanks for watching.
Till next time, guys. This has been the Welch Review.